Hello, everyone. I am Glenn, and I have an intro slide. So, I guess cool. I am a practitioner, so a little bit of a change of pace here. Maybe if things start feeling less theoretically based and well researched, there's probably a reason. But in any case, yeah, still should be fun. I did mention I'm a practitioner. I work building technology. I worked at Facebook in elections. I worked at really interesting stuff at Instagram about the qualities of information. I left those and have been working in the advocacy and nonprofit space since. And in particular, you're going to hear again in this about this last one on the bottom right. So put a pin in that idea of algorithmic solutions to potentially making the world better. That said, in all of these things, if I learned one thing in my time in technology, is that actually humans are gonna human, which means that if you give a tool to a bunch of humans, you're gonna get very human things happening. Sometimes that means somebody who has a specific agenda, they're out there to do a bad thing, they don't particularly care, or maybe it's even their goal that it causes some sort of harm to others. But a lot of times also it's just that guy, right? It's somebody who's just maybe not at their best in the moment, whether that's because potentially they may have a little bit of an EQ gap, they don't really know the appropriate way to do something, or they are just, not having a good day, they're wrong on the facts, whatever it may be. Maybe it's just in the moment, they're tired, they're angry, they're drunk, or the trifecta of, tweeting at your ex at 2 a.m. on a bender, right? So we all know we have this moment. I don't want to just blame it on, the one awful person. Humans are humans, so wouldn't it be nice if humans were just better? And, we can wish. But last I checked, we don't actually have any superheroes. If we had superheroes around, they'd be pretty busy, I think. And even those of us who are thinking that we're experts, we think that what we do is pretty rare, and we're pretty special, and we tend to stay pretty busy too. Even just a communication expert tends to keep themselves busy. So what are you going to do? We're not going to all be these experts. And in fact, if you're remembering this crowd, you may think, how can I make this crowd better? And while I will say some people, not so coachable, all these other scenarios over here, these actually are coachable moments. Right? And even the bad person, if you can't coach them, maybe you can coach people on how to react to them, how to deal with somebody doing something, whether that's as simple as, maybe that random post about buy my crazy coin that they put in reply to your post about your wedding, maybe you should just ignore that, right? Even if the bad actors are being bad actors, there's a lot of opportunities for humans to get better at using these social media platforms. Unfortunately, I just said that experts are also hard to come by. So what are you going to do? Can you, how are you going to manage to find a coach? Well, there are these things, a large language model has certain advantages over human, in that they work 24/7 for pennies, so that's a plus. Can we actually use them as coaches? Well, let me talk for a minute about what they can and can't do. I'll start with the fun stuff. These are some things that large language models cannot do. They can't think. They will fool you sometimes, but they can't think. They are not human. They absolutely cannot, at least in the current generation, be consistently accurate. And the most entertaining thing is they have no idea, because they're not thinking, about whether they're being accurate or not. So they're a little hazardous. There's some rough edges. But even with these rough edges, I will say that they're also, frankly, amazing. They can take in language and interpret it at a level that I think none of us have seen a computer do before. Right? That whether that's taking instruction about what you want them to do, or whether it's incorporating into what they're doing some previously existing communication that's out there, right? So you can say, hey, I want to have a conversation with you about this conversation that I'm having with somebody else, right? And that is something that's never you've never been able to do with a computer before. And in addition, of course, in fact, what they were built to do is to produce language that is fit to purpose, that completes thoughts, that moves something forward in the kind of ways that humans do. So, perfect coach, right? No, not a perfect coach. But remember that thing about how they work cheap 24/7 and they scale because they're technology? So, with that, oh, don't touch the podium. Sorry, everybody. With that, I want to shift into very briefly showing you something that I've been working on at the Civic Health Project. The Civic Health Project has been building the Social Media Detoxifier, which is an LLM-based coach for people, in this case, who are responding to toxic content, polarizing content online. And we got big goals for it, but I've got 2.5 minutes left. So we're going to skip by some of this and also skip by some of why online toxicity is the problem that Civic Health is really focused on, because I think that was covered really well in some previous discussions, why it's important that we be able to talk to each other across difference, and that's why we're coaching towards this. So here is what we have. We have an LLM that goes and identifies toxicity on social media, and with apologies to our ex-colleagues here, that is in fact where we're working on first, because there might be some toxicity there, I've heard. Not only there, we promise. And so the LLM can identify and understand the language of what's out there to identify that a post, such as this one, is in fact toxic. It is the kind of content that will potentially drive people out of conversations. The LLM can then go in and even say what types of toxicity that we're particularly concerned about are observable in this. Are they, expressing moral outrage? Are they dehumanizing people who disagree with them? And then from that information, with that interpretation of what they're seeing, the LLM will actually draft responses based on and using what people smarter than I have been researching for some time about our potential strategies to respond to toxicity, to engage with toxicity, and give you some sample replies. They don't post them. What they do is they try and use them to coach so that the human then can learn, can decide what to do, and can post what they want to post, potentially using or at least based on what they're getting from their LLM coach. So that's one example of one point, and again, moving fairly quickly. There's no shortage of coachable moments in social media, and I think we heard from Matt, for example, some of the ones, but broadly speaking, I'll put up sort of a framework here, which is there's a bunch of sort of intentional moments where people are like, I want to learn things, I want to go accomplish something, I want to address toxicity, and that's where a tool like ours comes in, right? Like the person has a goal where they would choose to engage the coach. And then there's the whole category of in the moment, right? Like you're going in, you're posting something, and as Matt was telling us, sometimes you're just a little too angry. And so before you post or reshare or whatever it is, that's the other place that I think that coaching can really be great. And the LLM is what allows you to inject that coaching all the time, quickly, at scale, the way you couldn't do with a human. Plenty more we don't know yet. The 10-second version of this is what are the actual underlying motivations? What are we trying to actually accomplish? And how will people react to it being an LLM that's coaching them? But that's why we have researchers. Thank you.